Hey guys, this is Comic Uno, and today I'm doing Comic Uno's Best Comics of the Week, and this is the show where I review all the comics I've read this week in one show. We go least favorite to best pick of the week and everything in between. And before I get started, I do have a couple announcements. So we do have a Kickstarter going on for Pride Month, asexual and aromantic anthology. Every year we try to do something different with the LGBTQ community, and this year we decided to do an anthology about asexuality. So go check that one out. And of course, at the end of the video, we talk about the viewer's pick of the week. So in the comments below, let me know your pick of the week for a chance to be featured. So yeah, let's jump in. There is a lot of comic books. So I have 17 books. And as we jump in, also be sure to give this video a like. That way, even more people get to see this video series. Now, moving into number 17, which is Dark Honor, issue 1. This series has to do with the time of COVID. It was a female lead, so I thought that was interesting. But for me, this was very almost 90s feeling, which is interesting because it's supposed to be, obviously 2020. And I don't feel like it used the COVID backdrop as much as it could have. A lot of it felt like setup, and the setup didn't really get me into the character. I thought the artwork could have been stronger too, so overall giving that one 2 stars. Moving on to number 16, another book that I thought started out okay, but is now kind of overstaying its welcome, and that is Batman Hush, issue 160. It's honestly just same old, same old. It's just kind of this nostalgia trip that's not really kind of reinventing itself or doing anything new. A lot of the storyline is just like, oh, Jason is a brutal Robin. What do we do about that? Oh, it's Batman vs. Joker. There just really wasn't anything new in this issue, and I'm hoping it sticks to landing, but I just don't really know why Hush had a return, and I don't think this issue is really selling me on that. So overall, giving that 2 stars, and that is number 16. Moving on to number 15, a little surprised to see this one a little lower, and that is Green Lantern issue 23. This just felt a little bit more like Green Lantern Corps to me, which is a series I don't love as much as the Green Lantern book, because it's really about the more cosmic side of Green Lantern and more about the Green Lantern Corps as a whole. I want more of a character-driven story with Hal, and that's what I've liked about this series up to this point. I think Corps could do a lot more of the mythos-driven storytelling, and I think Hal has to kind of be at the heart of this one, which didn't really happen with this issue. So giving that 2.5 stars, and that is number 15. Moving on to number 14, which is Cable Loving Chrome issue 5. This is the last issue of this mini. A mini that I liked. I just think it's something that overstayed its welcome. It's a love story about Cable's sickness and how that was imprinted onto his new girlfriend, and how obviously his powers and his mutantism plays effect of it. And here, you just put everything back in the toy box. Their relationship didn't actually happen because of time travel, and everything goes back to normal. And I was like, all right, I like the journey, but I don't think we needed 5 issues to kind of get to the same point of what we were at with the beginning of the series. So giving that 2.5 stars, and that is number 14. Moving on to number 13, one of the bigger books this week, and that is Giant Size X-Men issue 1. A new mutant has appeared. She is an X-Men that never was, and that's mostly just the backup story. The main story is Miss Marvel as a mutant and going back in time and saying like, okay, Miss Marvel was a mutant during the Krakoa era, a very different Professor Xavier, a very different X-Men team. So let's see what she would have been in this nostalgic times. The best part of this issue, I will say, if you're a new Champions fan or just Champions fan, then I think you'll like Cyclops and Miss Marvel's relationship, because they have had a relationship because of that series. And I like that element. I liked some of the nostalgia, but if you're not a fan of Miss Marvel being a mutant, like I am honestly, you're probably not gonna like this one. It really delves more into that side of her character that I just don't even think works for her character and never really has. So it's always a struggle with these type of stories. I think Miss Marvel works at her best when she's just at Jersey City saving the world, and we haven't really had that in a long time. So giving that 2.5 stars, no, 3 stars, because I thought the artwork was solid for that one, and probably not gonna pick up the next issue though. There's like a Phoenix Giant Size I don't think I'm gonna grab. Moving on to number 12, and I think we're going to intro the main topic at this point because it is Absolute title. So Absolute Wonder Woman. Before I jump into Absolute Wonder Woman, I want to talk about the main topic, which is Absolute Universe versus Ultimate Universe. The kind of telltale question of the year, which one is better? And obviously, it's kind of a telltale question on what is better, Marvel versus DC. And I think the reason for me why Absolute works with an asterisk of Ultimate Spider-Man, we'll get there, is because it is new, it is a new initiative we've really never seen. We've seen alternate universes or alternate universes of DC Comics, but never this version. It's a darker side of the characters. It really feels very, very, very creator driven as well. It doesn't really feel like it has a lot of editorial attributes there. Everything feels really different and high quality, and that's what I like about the absolute titles. Even though, like, you know, an absolute Wonder Woman might be a little lower on my list, you still see the quality, and for Wonder Woman fans, I think you're going to enjoy a series like this. Now, Ultimate Universe, what I don't think works as well is that it's based on a universe that already existed, a universe that people loved, and again, the reason they loved it was because of Ultimate Spider-Man. That made a huge difference in the Marvel Universe. It was a way to tell Spider-Man's story as a teen, with him not having to be a teen in the regular universe. So I think what really worked about that is, yeah, the success of Ultimate Spider-Man, and then you had Ultimate X-Men that some people liked, but then they kind of murdered everybody, and then the Ultimates was an okay title. Mostly in the past, it was Ultimate Spider-Man that really made that universe succeed. And kind of similar here, it's trying to retread water with a lot of the other titles, especially Ultimates. You know, I know a lot of people are enjoying that title, but it's very similar to some of the tone of the original Ultimates. And then everything kind of feels different, right? You have the Ultimate X-Men, which is this manga style book, Ultimate Black Panther doing its own thing. And for me, I think the reason why something like Ultimate Spider-Man is really successful is because it reverse engineers what that original series was that really worked to begin with. So for me, I will say out of everything, all the absolute titles, and the Ultimate titles, Ultimate Spider-Man is my favorite. As someone who hasn't been loving Amazing Spider-Man, it is my Spider-Man series. It's the love letter to Spider-Man. But if I'm speaking on a whole universe, I think the most cohesive one is the absolute titles. It's the one that I just seem to have the most fun with every single title. I haven't dropped one absolute title, which is kind of wild because there's so many. So for me, I'll say absolute is better, but if I had to pick one title, it's going to be Ultimate Spider-Man. So let's jump into Absolute Wonder Woman. This was a pretty solid beginning to a new arc. If you needed to jump into Absolute Wonder Woman, this is probably a good spot to do so, but it's a bit slower. You're introducing the characters like Veronica Cale and reintroducing Cheetah and all these other characters, or at least Barbara's character. And it's a little slower, and I don't love this art style as much as the previous art style, but I thought it was a pretty okay issue. So giving that 3 stars. Moving on to number 11, which is Uncanny X-Men issue 15. This is an okay arc for me as well. You know, I like that it's different. I like the Cajun influence to it, and I like the kids. They're probably the most fun aspect. But this arc in general, just, I haven't been able to hook my teeth into it. But you know, I think that is the gutsiness of doing something so different compared to what we've been getting in X-Men or the other X-Men titles. So you're gonna either like it or dislike it. So for me, I like the art. I like some of the character moments, but it's just not my art. So giving that 3 stars, and that is number 11. Moving on to number 10, which is Lilith, issue 4, a book I like, I'm having a fun time with. I don't feel like it moves that much. I like the characters enough, but if this is going to be a character-driven series, I kind of want to love the characters, and I think even their progression's a little slow. But I feel the art is really, really good for the vampire moments and the emotional moments, the comedic moments that makes this series work. So overall, giving that 3 stars, and that is number 10. Moving on to number 9, an absolute title that is also one that you're gonna either love or hate, but it's Absolute Martian Manhunter issue 3. And for me, I like this title, but it's kind of moving into the absolute Flash territory where it's like, if you're only gonna do the trippiness, it might get a little old. For this issue, I didn't think it did. I think there was some good progression with his relationship with his wife, with the crime he's trying to solve, and obviously this fire weakness that he has. But I wanted to move a little bit more as the issues go on. But it's a very trippy book. I love the art. The art really, really does it for me here. And overall, giving that one 3.5 stars. Moving on to number 8, which is a one-shot. Mommy Blog issue 1. I was super excited for this one. I love the concept of this mommy blogger being like a serial killer. I actually think this would have been probably in my top 5 if it was a miniseries. I feel like a lot of it was being squeezed in to tell this story, and I just kind of wanted to take its time. I wanted to, slow down the kills a little bit. I thought the artwork was a little rushed at times, but the concept is just so fun of making this kind of 1950s housewife into a modern story. Because again, we've kind of seen this story before, even in comics. There's Lady Killer, but it's usually in a different time period. So to see it with the internet and social media, I thought was an interesting angle. So overall, giving that one 3.5 stars. Hopefully it's the beginning to something else so we could kind of slow stuff down. Moving on to number 7, which is Predator vs. Spider-Man, issue 2. There were 17 books. If this was another week, this probably would have been in my top 5. It's just there was a lot of books that came out. And I'll say that this was a lot of what we already had in the first issue. It's the murders of the Predator, it's that horrifying feeling of that, and Spider-Man trying to figure it out as MJ's trying to survive as well, and you just get to see little pieces kind of moving on the chessboard. Now, does that mean it wasn't a fun issue? No, I loved the first issue, so if it's just like the first issue, like I had a good time with it. I just think that, some of the story could have progressed a little bit more, but I really love the horror elements. I love how this feels like a classic Spider-Man story. The artwork is tremendous for the series. I'm having a good time with this. So giving that one 4 stars, and that is number 7. Moving on to number 6, which is Feral, issue 13. Another one. Would have been in my top 5 if it was another week. It's a solid issue that moves the characters along to get to this pet shop, which has been a few issues now. If it has a very Walking Dead quality in that way. But there's some really, really good character moments, especially between the mom and the rest of their crew, because she explains, why does it all matter if we're all gonna kind of become these zombies in some moment? Like, shouldn't we just kind of give up? And we get to see this found family kind of come together and help each other. And again, I can't explain to you how much this reminds me of The Walking Dead, except with cats, because it really felt like an issue of The Walking Dead in the best way possible. And the artwork is just superb and the emotions are great here. So overall, giving that one 4 stars, and that is number 6. Moving on to number 5, this is a personal preference book for me, and that is Wolverine and Kitty Pryde, issue 2. I love the original series, so I really like this one. It really surprised me. I'm not one to be hooked for nostalgic books. I don't need to relive a story, I need progression. And I think this book actually did a really good job at that. Like, obviously they're delving into the Ogun stuff, but it really is the character moments of the aftermath, things that we didn't really get to see as much. Wolverine's relationship with his girl, Kitty's relationship with her father. Like, those are just moments we didn't have as much in that original series. That has a little bit of room to breathe here, all while throwing in the classic Sentinels to attack. I just thought it was a very solid issue as a fan of the original series. So giving that 4 stars, and that is number 5. Moving on to number 4, which is Minor Arcana, issue 7. Different artists, but the coloring is pretty similar, so it felt like a similar vibe. I really liked the art. It was a very clean style, and I love this book. It's just such a great slice of life book about real emotions, organic storytelling, where we get to see our main character hangs out with her ex-girlfriend's husband, and they just team up together to try to figure out this case. And I love their conversations about just, loving this person, and they're actually becoming friends. Like, this kind of weird story. Again, you would think that the obvious way to go is like, they're jealous of each other, they hate each other, but there's a conversation in this issue saying like, well, I don't think I do hate you. I kind of like you. So, yeah, there's just a lot of interesting character beats here that you never could be let down with this series. So overall, giving that one 4.5 stars, and that is number 4. Moving on to number 3, which is The Last Boy, issue 3. I love this book. I specifically like Wendy's story a lot, where she's just doesn't care. She wants to help these kids with their little boat project. She wants to have her book, and then her future husband walks in and is like, we got to plan the wedding, and she puts on a suit and she's like, no, we don't. And in the background we get other storyline with Peter Pan, where there's a lot of interesting stuff with him and the Native American character, where she says, I love you, and Peter doesn't know what to do with those emotions, all while Captain Hook is dying. So there's a lot of cool pieces moving, and we're only up to issue 3, and I just think this book progresses really well while telling good character story. So overall, giving that one 4.5 stars, and that is number 3. Sorry. Moving on to number 2, which is Superman issue 26. This book progresses storylines so well. It doesn't dangle the idea that Lois lost her powers and says, okay, you know what? Whatever, Lois, you go back to the Daily Planet. There's really great emotion, even deal making because of what's happening here. And there's so many character moments that you could pinpoint here that maybe only need 2 pages, but they still have them here to progress that story, like Lena and Lex's storyline. And then we even get that Moonlight character that was introduced earlier in the series. I just really love how big every issue feels. Like, this is an issue 26. Most of the time you're just picking up the pieces after an issue 25. It does more than that. It really just fully moves the story. And, honestly, sometimes that doesn't happen with a series that has 26 issues. You get those filler issues a little bit more. And this series just tends not to do that, which is why Superman is my favorite regular universe superhero title right now. So overall, giving that one 4.5 stars. Great moments here, great series. Moving on to number 1, also kind of part of the topic of the video, and that's Ultimate Spider-Man issue 17. This is just such a great series, and why it's my favorite alternate universe series, because it can do things that Amazing Spider-Man isn't. It's not an action-driven series. Honestly, Spider-Man's hardly in the suit, and Spider-Man's not really even in this issue. It really is picking up the pieces of Gwen Stacy's reveal of being a villain, and her not really being the anti-hero you thought. She is really just a villain. And we get to see Harry's point of view. And what I love is it really goes 360 to the first issue of the series, where you don't really know which side Harry is playing. And I don't think he even knows what side he's playing. He has the voice of his father, the voice of his wife, but then there's this like little echo of the friendship with Peter saying, well, maybe this is wrong. And he calls Peter in the end. You're like, ooh, the drama's kind of settling in here. It's just such a great character piece. It's a great Spider-Man story, wonderful art. Again, you don't even need Spider-Man in the issue to just be like, wow, this is a great Spider-Man book. So overall, giving that one 4.5 stars. That is my pick of the week. Let me know in the comments below what your pick of the week was. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. This is Comic Uno. Let me know in the comments below what your pick of the week was. And the viewer's pick of the week was Absolute Flash. And here are some comments about that. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. This is Comic Uno, and I'll see you guys in the next one.